So I'm going to show you some St Patrick's uniforms shortly. After I show you these wee clip here. Some of the celebrations. So you can see the uniforms here. And the one on the left there, this one here, this is St McGill's, I think is how you pronounce that, accordion band. That's from Downpatrick in County Down. The band was formed in 1967 and it won many competitions, including 2 All-Ireland Championships in 1995. And the band took part in the Birmingham International Tattoo. And this is the uniform of the Lexington Minutemen. It's a dress uniform, and the wee badge there was the year 1773, and this one is 1775. And they reenact and celebrate the Revolutionary Era militia every year in Boston's St Patrick's Day Parade. And of course, during the siege of Boston in 1776, George Washington instructed that St Patrick was the Continental Army's password for safe passage. So this here is the National President's insignia of the New York City Parade, and that's of the Ancient Order of Hibernians in America. Ancient Order of Hibernians is the largest Irish-related organisation in the USA, and it's played a key role in establishing and running the biggest St Patrick's Day parades in the world in cities like Boston and Chicago. And so this is the National President, Donny O'Connell's insignia. And then this one here is the dress of an Irish dancer, and it's Auckland Parade, New Zealand.
On the outer fringes of the known world, the edge of Europe, was a place the Romans had never conquered, a prize not worthy of plunder, an island too wild to be tamed. But as the sun was setting on the last days of the Roman Empire, a new dawn would herald the arrival of one of its own people. A Roman who left his own testament the first known written words in Ireland, of a life devoted to the spread of Christianity.
I, Patrick, a sinner and most unlearned of men, least of all the faithful, and greatly despised in the eyes of many.
Age 16, Patrick, the son of a Christian cleric, was captured near his home in Roman Britain and brought to Ireland, where he was cast into captivity in the wilds of County Antrim. Alone in a pagan land, Patrick tended sheep for 6 years, wrestling with his inner demons, until he rediscovered his Christian faith.
So I turned with all my heart to the Lord my God, and he looked down on my lowliness and had mercy on my youthful ignorance. He guarded me before I knew him, and before I came to wisdom and could distinguish between good and evil. He protected me and consoled me as a father does for his son.
Patrick's prayers were answered when a voice told him to escape his bondage and go to a place where a ship would carry him home across the Irish Sea. But back amongst his loving family, Patrick was woken by another vision, an angel named Victoricus, who brought him a message from the Irish people, a plea that Patrick could not refuse.
They called out as it were with one voice, "We beg you, holy boy, to come and walk again among us." This touched my heart deeply, and I could not read any further. I woke up then, Thanks be to God, after many years the Lord granted them what they were calling for.
Patrick's parents begged him to stay, but the call from Ireland was too great. He had to return to the land of his captors. Now a bishop, Patrick sailed into Strangford Lough, where he sowed the first seeds of his Christian mission at Saul. They were found by the swineherd of a man who was good by nature, although a pagan, whose name was Dehu. He lived in the place where there is now the barn named after Patrick. Patrick's mission was not the first in Ireland, but it proved to be the most successful, and from Saul sprang the roots and branches of a strong Christian tradition, one that he cherished and nurtured until it spread from East Down to every corner of Ireland and beyond. Patrick believed it was God's will that sent him back to Ulster, where he had been a slave. Now he was consumed with a passion to convert whoever would listen.
Did I come to Ireland without the help of God because I chose to? It was God who brought me here. I am bound by the Holy Spirit, so that I can't even see my own family.
But he knew the limits of his own resolve, conscious not to upset the kings and chieftains who already ruled the land. When Patrick did challenge the power of the Druids, there was a clash of two cultures, pagan versus Christian. These kings would not tolerate someone who questioned their authority. There was a tradition among them, made known to all, that if anyone near or far kindled a fire on that night before the king had lit his in his palace at Tara, that man would forfeit his life. But Holy Patrick lit his bright and blessed sacred Easter fire that night, and it was seen by all those who lived in the plain. Patrick was always willing to take risks and be creative for the good of his mission. On the hill of Tara, the power of his preaching prevailed. When Luath, High King of Ireland, became a Christian.
At times I gave gifts to kings, over and above what I paid to their sons who travelled with me. Despite this, they took me and my companions prisoner, and very much wanted to kill me, but the time had not yet come.
Within this pagan culture, what Patrick called the worship of idols and unclean things, he found customs and traditions that could be transformed into Christian ones. The natural deities of the pagan world could now be symbolic of something new.
The sun which we see rising for us each day at his command, that sun will never reign, nor will its splendor continue forever. And all those who adore that sun will come to a bad, miserable penalty. We, however, believe in and adore the true sun, that is, Christ, who will never perish.
Patrick adopted sites which were sacred in ancient Ireland, sites that are still places of pilgrimage today. He used the Celtic cycle of the seasons to teach a Christian message, baptizing tens of thousands of people in his lifetime.
I have travelled everywhere among you for your own sake, in many dangers, and even to the furthest parts beyond which there is nothing, and where nobody ever went to baptize and to ordain clerics or to bring people to Christ.
Patrick's mission soon outgrew Saul, and his influence was felt all over Ireland. His own writings left a blank page for others to fill with his legend, one that would grow and evolve through the centuries. His legend was used to strengthen the position of Armagh, which would become the ecclesiastical centre of Ireland. Patrick and Dara went out to inspect the generous and pleasing gift. On the top of the hill, they found a doe with her small fawn lying in the place where now is the altar of the Northern Church at Armagh. Many of Patrick's followers became missionaries themselves, like Saints Columkill and Columbanus, who left Ireland to establish great centres of Christian scholarship. Columbanus lit up the Dark Ages in Europe with his knowledge and learning, and even challenged the power of Rome. In 563 AD, Columkill established a monastery on Iona, a tiny island off the west coast of Scotland. It became a major monastic hub, From its remote location, Christianity spread throughout the kingdom of Dalriada. He established his first monastery at Anglais, in a region then known as Gaul. When he died in 615 AD, the legacy of Columbanus was immense. The centuries that followed, monasteries associated with Irish Christian missionaries sprang up all over Europe. Like his disciples, Patrick has inspired people of all faiths and walks of life to seek sustenance for the soul and discover their spiritual core, whether it's climbing a mountain, deep in prayer, or simply being together as one. There are always moments to reflect.
I've always heard about it. I don't understand. So I've got a goal, come up it, see all Ireland, walking in front of you, behind you, everything. I think it's a great mixture of what we are, because pure faith up there at the top. All sorts of posters trying to sell you a few bits and pieces along the way, and people walking around with stones, and I don't know whether they know pagan stones or Christian stones.
Now every corner of Ireland claims part of Patrick for itself. Places to worship, learn, and to cure. Like the healing wells at Struhl, the first in Ireland dedicated to Patrick. Today, St. Patrick is not only a religious figure, but is a global cultural icon, embraced and celebrated by everyone. Someone who represents the Irish diaspora across the world, for a little piece of home and somewhere new. A place where you can follow in his footsteps along St. Patrick's Way, the Camino of Ireland. This walking trail through counties Armagh and Down links many of the major landmarks associated with Ireland's patron saint. It finishes at Down Cathedral, built by the Anglo-Norman knight John de Courcy in the 12th century. Here in this churchyard, Patrick's grave lies amongst those who followed his Christian mission. An ordinary man who did extraordinary things. Celebrated in a well-known medieval rhyme, which reveals two of Ireland's most famous saints are also buried here with Patrick. In Down, three saints one grave to fill: Patrick, Bridget, and Columkill. Patrick has become a legend, a source of inspiration, who has been reimagined through the ages, and is commemorated on the same day in spring every year, the 17th of March, the date he died here at Downpatrick. It's a traditional day of celebration that marks the season of planting, when the sod is turned and the seeds of last year's crop will bear another harvest. Just like the seeds of Patrick's first mission at Seoul.
And that is what I have to say before I die.
Complete your journey to St. Patrick's Country by visiting our local patrician sites, like Inch Abbey, where the legend of the snakes was written, the only shrine for St. Patrick in Ireland at St. Patrick's Roman Catholic Church, the medieval Cathedral of Down, where Patrick is buried, and the tallest statue of St. Patrick in the world.